Hey, Shalom, it's your brother Yuwanathan, all right? First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, or HaHaKodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I want to say Shalom to all the brothers and, of course, the few Akwath who are pursuing this truth in sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your house. The title of this lesson is You Can't Trust Anything the Red Lobster Says. I'm talking about the red man, a.k.a. the Edomite, a.k.a. the so-called white man, all right? You can't trust anything that this man says, and the whole world is seeing him for what he really is. His character, the very essence of his being, is being put on display. All right, I got a clip that I want to run, and then we'll respond to it through the spirit. Because all the things that the Edomite tries to project on Jake, he's the accuser of the brethren, as the scriptures say. All the things that he says, oh, look what they're doing, he's guilty of. The narrative he's depicted about our people, he's guilty of. And I always say white supremacy isn't white supremacy, it's really white insecurity. So with no further ado, let's run this first clip and we'll respond to it through the spirit. Abaratazah, the lesson is edifying. Shalom.
But Blake, if poverty is the number one driver of crime, then why are poor white people less violent than poor black people? Well, it's pretty simple. They're not. I get a lot of these stupid comments on my videos, and it's not a position backed by data. The FBI did a study in 2016 looking at people below the federal poverty line and determined that white people had the highest violent crime victimhood rates. The FBI has also shown throughout its data collecting history that most violent crime is intra-racial, not intra, aka white on white, black on black. 80 to 84% of all white people killed by homicide are killed by other white people. Allow me to connect the dots for you. With a higher violent crime victimization rate, and most of it being intra-racial, the data would seem to indicate that poor white people are technically slightly more violent than poor black people. However, black people are more likely to be arrested at all income levels. They are more likely to receive longer sentences and are 3.23 times more likely to be killed by police, according to Harvard. That same Harvard study also showed that over a 4-year period, black Chicagoans were 650% more likely to be killed by the police than white Chicagoans. So I say again, if you think that the amount of melanin in someone's body determines their likelihood to be a violent criminal, that is the same as saying that someone with freckles or blue eyes is more likely to be a violent criminal than someone with brown eyes and clear skin. You are a propagandized idiot.
All right, that Edomite, or seemingly Edomite, all right, because this has nothing to do with complexion at the end of the day. We use so-called black, white, because they're relative terms so people could get the gist of what we're talking about. But the way lineage works is vastly different than how the world discerns lineage. Okay? The Lord is the Father of spirits. And sometimes he might put an Israelite spirit in a body that doesn't necessarily look like your traditional Israelite. Anyway, that man's a Chicago native, and he just kind of ran down through a lot of the regurgitated statistics they give about Jake. Oh, you're 13% of the population, but you committed 80% of the... No. So when you actually go look into it, you realize that all that rhetoric is bullshit. And in fact, you find out that, oh, the red man is the actual, criminal. He's the one in the forefront of all the deviants. When you look at PDF cases, he's the one in the forefront. When you look at the PDF ring around the world, the elite of the nation of Edom, they run it. Okay, that billion-dollar PDF ring around the world, our people don't have the infrastructure to set something up like that. Be for real. They're in the forefront of evil, but they're pointing the finger at Jake. Okay, let's go to Habakkuk 2 and 15 really quick. And actually, before I get to Habakkuk 2 and 15, I'm going to read Psalms 94 and 20. It says, "Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law?" Because they're in the power seat, because the earth has been given into their hands, they could legislate their biases and evil. they could write into law loopholes for them to commit heinous acts. Let's go to Habakkuk 2 and 15. All right, it reads, woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink. Now, up in this chapter, when you go to the fifth verse, it talks about how this devil transgresses by wine, meaning his philosophy. He's polluted the minds of all of the earth, especially the children of Israel. When you talk about the vibration on the Edomite, the group of people who have up or taken up that vibration the most would be the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. As the scriptures say, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. Our people have been seduced by a lot of the wayward vibrations that the Edomite naturally walks in. You understand? So when you talk about the majority of what black culture is perceived to be, what it's about, the behavior that stems from it, it's really Edomite culture. Okay. Now, whatever Jake gets a hold on, because we're the salt of the earth, Jake can make something bad look cool, but it's not cool. Okay, it's evil, and death stems from all those behaviors and actions and mindsets. Okay, Habakkuk 2 and 15 again. It says, "Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and maketh him drunken also. You made this man partake in your evil, that thou mayest look on their nakedness or shame. When you're naked, people that you should be shamed. You should be covering yourself up. So we're publicly naked to the world, and these lies, and don't get it twisted. 2/3 of our people, many of them uphold, the rhetoric that Esau has told about them because that's all they know. All right, but even the ordinary 2/3 Jake isn't what the Edomites have painted them to be to the world. Now, they've propagated all these lies up. I mean, they've pushed this narrative in mass about our people, and the world has believed it. And many of our own people have begun to believe it about themselves. But all these lies that they told about us, like I mentioned earlier, they're guilty of. And they don't just lie about things that revolve around the nation of Israel. They've lied about everything. They've lied about a big portion about their significance in the grand scheme of things. For instance, they'll tell you, now that we got modern medicine, people live substantially longer. The average, lifespan of people back in the day was 30, 40 years old. Modern medicine, this petroleum-based medicine, has significantly improved human life upon it. That's bullshit. But that's the rhetoric you'll hear, growing up. You're like, oh, the white man, he's brought us into this new age. Less than 1,000 years ago, this man was in the caves grunting. Okay? He didn't bring us into an age of enlightenment or life. It's just been deceit and death, and he's tricked people into thinking that he's what's best. He's not what's best. I got a quick clip. I like those little whiteboard videos. A quick clip. Uh, I'm gonna run, kind of back up what I just said, and I'll read a couple precepts. And I got a couple clips throughout this whole lesson. All right, so it's the first one here.
30-year-old average. It is very common to hear that ancient people rarely lived past their 30s. People often picture life before modern medicine as so harsh that a 35-year-old was considered a frail elder at the end of their life. This idea started to crumble in 2018 when a scientist named Christine Cave looked closely at skeletons from Old English graveyards. She created a new way to study how teeth wear down over time to figure out the true age of these older bones. This new method confirmed that the famous statistic saying average life expectancy was 30 is actually a massive math trick caused by very high baby death rates. Because so many infants did not survive, the overall mathematical average dropped dramatically. However, Cave proved that if an ancient person made it past childhood sicknesses, they were likely to live to be around 70 years old. It turns out the ancient world was filled with healthy grandparents.
All right, so another lie. Modern medicine is actually killing people. And even when they do reach older ages, They have so many complications, man. The life isn't even worth living. Or up again in this chapter, in the fifth verse, it says what? This man is as death. Okay, he's a physician of no value and forger of lies. Let's read that in Job 13:4. It says, "But ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value." All right. It says, "The wicked in his pride does persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined." Okay. This man is going to be taken into captivity. All the things he planned to do unto the nation of Israel is going to be brought upon his head, but in righteousness. Okay, it goes on to say in verse 3, "For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire and blesseth the covetous, whom the Lord abhorred." The Lord has a righteous indignation, right, towards the nation of Edom. They boast in what they want to, they want to manufacture their own artificial blessing. Because remember, they gave the blessing up. It was given to Jacob. It's promised to us. But everything that this devil is reaching for, keep in mind that it's already within the promises that was promised to Jacob. The immortality, what we're trying to transcend human biology. All right, and this is my Carl Squad impression, not very good. But what? Who else? Know you are. We don't need God. We can make our own water. God is dead. It just takes a while to hide the body. This open declaration against the Most High is, and having dominion and authority over the earth, having dominion over life and death. These are things that are, promised to the chosen line. Everything they do is motivated by trying to get the blessing back. All right, verse 4, Psalms 10:4. "The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. His ways are grievous. Thy judgments are far above his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them." He, carnally speaking, this man's blessing was a sword, right? So there's no mortal on the earth who can oppose this man when it comes to the blessing of the sword, which means killing, destruction, death. And he's made the sword, a bunch of different ways. On the battlefield, through medicine, through the food, through the air. He's made everything a weapon. Okay? So he's committed much violence to keep the world in check. The hammer of the earth has committed much violence to keep the world under his, control. But there's a saying, all right, you got evil men commit violence, but righteous men who are more capable of violence keep those evil men in check. The Lord is coming back. He's not going to meet this damn devil as a man. He's going to meet him as a great power, and he's going to be capable of much more violence than they could commit to keep this man in check. And he's going to be put in chains. He's going straight to jail. He has a sentence to play out. Okay? And you get that word puffeth. It's pawach. All right? And basically going into to scoff at or to ridicule. All right? He's ridiculed the nation of Israel, even though the condition that we're in was because of our disobedience. But he's forwarded the position that we've been in through his deceit, through his plots and ploys. Keep in mind, we're the Lord's jewelry. You think the Lord's going to be okay with that? Read Joel, the 3rd chapter, 9th verse on down. Lord's not going to be okay with that. Okay, let me see here. Uh, what verse did I want here? Yeah, Psalms 58:2, start here at the top. It says, "Yeah, in his heart ye work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies." And again, the earth is witnessing the crooked vibration that he operates in. When you go to 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, I believe the 18th verse, it talks about, the inquisition being made of the wicked. That's happening now. Okay, their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They're like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. You know, so that we can sit here all day, talk about the atrocities of Edom, sit here all day and talk about the lies that Edom has told. Okay, and their tongue is falling upon their own self. You got even, you know, those are the lower levels of their own population calling out the hypocrisy.
Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
I think we all remember the Challenger explosion that took place in 1986 that tragically took the lives of all 7 astronauts on board. As a couple decades later, this thing called the internet came about, and someone allegedly found almost all of those astronauts alive and well, many using the same exact names. As you can see here, we have Challenger astronaut Judith Resnick and also Judith Resnick, Yale law professor. Michael J. Smith, the pilot of the Challenger astronaut, and also professor at University of Wisconsin, now retired Michael J. Smith. Commander Dick Scobie, who is now president of Cows and Trees. Now, if you'll notice, they all have the exact same faces 30 some odd years later, the same exact name. Miss Resnick was questioned at Yale by a journalist, and she panicked and ran from the camera. Why?
Conspiracy about space shuttle. No, I want to be polite.
Mr. Michael J. Smith was also questioned, and he said, yeah, we look alike, but that's not me.
Are you Michael Smith? Yeah. Are you aware of that there's a rumor on the internet that people are saying...
Yeah, it's not me, obviously. I mean, it's interesting that the Michael J. Smith that was the astronaut looks something like me when we were younger, but really not.
Yeah, you just sure look alike. It's the same
I know the facial thing, but that's what we look like, what, 40 years ago? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to believe that 3 people from one spaceflight have exact lookalikes that have the same age and same exact names.
Sir,
Mr.
I'm going to
Scobie
have to stop.
Sir, this is a public comment.
I know what it is, sir. I'm very familiar with the public comment.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Will you let me finish for at least 10
No,
seconds?
sir, you're finished. Thank you.
Thank you for taking away my freedom of speech today in here.
I did not take away your freedom of speech.
Yes, you did.
I don't want to hear it from you
Just
people
because this
down
is an
here.
uncomfortable
Stop.
topic?
Officers, please remove this man from the room.
The man is a liar. He gonna keep lying. I'm talking about he about to turn the heat up on the line too, especially in regards to the believers. So, hey man, you can't trust anything the Red Lobster says. He's even created this AI so that he could lie on a more potent level. So, Abaratazah, the lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises once more to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I want to say shalom to all the brothers and, of course, the few sisters pursuing this truth and sincerity. All right, may the blessing of election be upon your house. Shalom.